What's going on, everyone? We are back on my pontoon boat that I have been building from the ground up. And if you look next to me, we got our fencing in, which is a big milestone if you've been following this project. If you haven't been following this project, let me catch you up real quick. This right here is my 23-foot long pontoon boat that was delivered directly to my house in boxes, and I pieced it all together from the ground up. Pretty much everything on this boat has been shipped to my house besides the motor. The base of this pontoon is from pontoonwholesalers.com. These are translucent polyplastic pontoons, so the whole pontoon actually pieces together kind of like Legos. They're a high quality, high strength plastic pontoon that will hold up even better than aluminum. Especially in salt water, they won't corrode or anything like that. And what makes these pontoons more special than their normal color is that these are translucent and they have LED lights in them where the whole pontoon themselves lights up. You can change the color of each pontoon to a different color, pretty much any color on the color spectrum. This is one of the first in the United States. I think I am the first one to have one. Not the first one to complete it because we've had a few holdups on this pontoon build. Mainly my fault because I've been picky. After the whole base of the pontoon was put together, we moved on to the deck. This decking is from pontoonstuff.com, along with their tan luxury line seating up in the front. We pieced all that together. It was not bolted down right now because we were waiting on the fencing. Moving to the back of the boat, I built this custom bar/helm. I pretty much build one of these for every single one of my pontoons I rebuild, and the reason for that is because I like it. It's very nice having a table on your pontoon that everyone can hang around, have drinks, play cards, play games. You don't realize how much you use it until you actually have one, and you never really want to go back. Going on a normal pontoon is kind of boring compared to the ones I build. We built all that, put a custom logo on it, started doing the wiring, and installed it on the boat. And last episode, we installed a brand new Suzuki 90 horse motor, and we ended that last video on not being able to start it. I went through so many diagrams, so many forums online, trying to figure out what's going on with this. I couldn't figure it out, and it's been very frustrating. So with that frustration, I actually hired a mobile Suzuki mechanic to actually come out here and do some testing, see what I missed, because I'm very convinced I was missing some kind of wiring diagram or something. A little part of me knew it was going to be something simple, and it was. It took him 5 minutes to come out here and figure out what was wrong. Everyone in the comments was saying it is not in neutral, and if it's not in neutral, it won't crank over, which I knew, and I tested all the wiring on it. It was all working. I even double-checked everything on the motor itself, made sure I wasn't misaligning the cables that run to it. It was all in neutral. That was all working. The issue is, which I'm letting you know again, I checked, which is this, the kill switch. Now, every boat has a kill switch, and you're supposed to hook up to your person, so if you fall off the boat, it will kill the motor and not run away from you. I checked this thing about 20 times. I pulled it off, put it back on, and I checked the wiring, made sure it was all hooked up, because if this is not engaged, then it will not crank over. But what he did is he pulled it off, and he pulled it out, and then it started. So this switch ended up being bad, or it's not aligned properly. Now, I don't have it hooked up to water, and I don't even have the gas hooked up, but I'm going to show you that it cranks over just for a second. Pull it out. Did you hear it? Cranks. Sounds healthy. Super frustrating that it was such a simple, easy fix. There's just so much wiring, and this is very new to me, so I just assumed the worst. Really, you just need to take a step back, go over everything again, and just check the simple stuff, because it usually is something simple. But that big headache is out of the way, and we can finally move on to finishing this boat. I will start it later in this episode. I just need to hook everything back up because I took everything apart, trying to trace wires and checking fuses and everything. The major holdup on this build has been the fencing, and that is mainly my fault because I have been very picky on the kind of fencing I want. I wanted more of a modern look fencing, and a lot of the newer boats have an open-ended rear section where basically the whole back of the boat is open, and I love that look. It's just hard to find any kind of fencing like that. So with the help of Facebook Marketplace and especially you guys, you have been sending me links from all over the United States, trying to piece together my fencing and also find me a whole completely new set. And that is what I did. You guys sent me this set that was in Indiana, and my dad actually drove all the way up there, got it, and delivered it back here. Huge shout out to Dad, because I did not want to make that drive for it. This fencing is off of a Sylvian. I don't really know if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know a whole lot about those pontoons. They seem kind of higher end, but really don't know. But I do like their fencing. The fencing looks very nice. The one thing I'm not too thrilled about is the color. I don't mind the actual gray color, it's the silver railings that I'm not really a huge fan of. Because I've been building this whole boat with the mindset that the railing is actually going to be black. So it kind of looks a little weird on here with the black railings and all the black accents I actually have on the boat. But as the saying goes, beggars cannot be choosers. I've been waiting for fencing for over a year, and this is the only one that I could come across. So I'm gonna fix it and make it the way I want it to be. I'm gonna take this whole thing back off because it's only sitting on here temporarily, and I'm gonna paint all those railings. It's not gonna be easy because I cannot remove the paneling, so I'm gonna have to tape all this off and paint it all in one go. I'm gonna be using etching primer, which is supposed to be used over aluminum, along with automotive paint and a very strong heavy-duty clear coat. It's a satin clear coat and it holds up well over scratches. Ideally, you would want to powder coat the whole railing, but it's gonna be very expensive to actually powder coat it, so trying to save a little bit of money if we can. So with all that being said, we are gonna paint it. I'm gonna take these off the boat, move them back into my garage, and get them all prepped and ready for paint. It's not gonna be the easiest thing in the world, but I believe it will look way better with all the railing black to match. And I hope it's worth it. It should be worth it though. I think it's gonna look really good. So enough wasting time. This boat has been begging to be put back together. Let's go ahead and get to it, take this fencing off, and get them painted.
The panels are all painted. The front ones I put up there, they're not bouncing down yet or anything. It looks good. I think it looks a lot better. There is a slight issue though. I don't know how big of an issue it's gonna be. Yeah, the more I look at it, the less I like it. Let me show you. So with this clear coat, you really need to paint everything all together. I've learned this lesson before, but I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal on these kind of panels. Unfortunately, it did happen. Now this is a satin kind of clear, and if you look up here, it looks okay. It looks kind of satiny, but then if you compare it to the first ones I painted, they are a little bit shinier. And if you compare it right next to each other, they do look a bit different. Ugh. I don't know what it is. Something about this boat, it does not want to have fencing on it. Debating back and forth, the only way I can fix it is to repaint pretty much everything, I think. The problem with repainting just one set of them is the clear coat might not match again. So the only real way to redo it is to tape them all up and repaint everything all in one go. You can't have two different paint jobs going on, and I can't fit them all into my garage. Not really too sure, I might just deal with it, at least put them up there for now and then repaint them maybe later. Another big issue is repainting it takes multiple days. Just to tape this thing up took 3 hours per panel. It took a long time to tape it all up. But right now it does look good. I do like the black a lot more than the silver. So I think I'm just gonna install it right now and then I'll deal with it in a later date. I'm really just tired of putting this thing off and just something keeps happening. So we're just gonna put it together and then in a future date, I might take it back off and repaint it. First thing we have to do is we're gonna put all the gates back on, line it up correctly and then mark it. Now with these newer panels, they don't have bolts that go all the way through. It's like let me show you. Luckily these panels came with all the hardware I needed. Here's the bolts for them. They aren't like regular bolts. They attach on the bottom of the rails. They kind of slide in it. They slide in up underneath the railing, you twist them, and then you're able to install it. So what we have to do is mark out where we're gonna have to drill all the holes, figure out how many bolts go in each panel, and then go from there. After we get the fencing all bolted down and installed in the right place, then we can move on to installing the bimini top I have. Bimini. People get mad at me for mispronouncing that. Let's stop putting it off and get to it. Let's do it.
it really looks like a boat. It's coming together. First off, let's talk about this fencing. It actually wasn't too difficult to install. Honestly, I like this mounting system a lot better than the aftermarket fencing that you can buy. The aftermarket fencing have bolts that go all the way through, so there's holes up top right here. They go all the way down through, and you can't adjust where you put those bolts. It's basically wherever the fence goes, you just drill it straight in. With this, I was able to move each bolt and put them onto the cross mounts underneath. That way it's more sturdy and it's not just going directly into the wood. The only thing that made that a little difficult was lining it up correctly, but really it wasn't that bad. Overall, it looks awesome and the black looks so much better. Really love how it turned out. But one quick question though, I think it needs a pop of color. It needs some kind of white or maybe a tan to match the seats in the side. There is like a flat black color back here, but I think it needs some white, maybe white on the little arches and then maybe up here too. I was thinking white so it'd match the motor and also the pontoons, but maybe some tan because it matched the seats. Not too sure. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should I add some color on the side? The fencing all looks really cool, but this is something else. This bimini top is awesome. It goes up and down with just the ease of a switch. It really wasn't that much more difficult to install than a regular bimini top. The only major difference is having to install some wiring that goes down through your fencing, and that could be a little tricky. It helps if you have a second pair of hands, but overall, not too difficult. This only took maybe a couple hours to install altogether. Now, I don't have it wired up fully yet. This is just temporary so I can test it out, make sure it worked. I am going to install a switch on here. This is the switch that it comes with, but I'm going to install a separate one that will attach right here somewhere. Maybe replace that switch or maybe add it to another panel because I do have to install a couple more switches up here for all my other lights and everything. You can get this electric bimini top at pontoonstuff.com along with pretty much everything else on the top of this boat. We got the flooring from there, the seating from there, these seats. It's the #1 spot for all your pontoon accessories. With the fencing installed, the bimini top on, now it's time to move up here to the seating. All the furniture is just sitting up here. It's not bolted into the ground yet. I want to take it off the boat and clean underneath it, clean the seats really good, and then install it fully. So take everything off, pressure wash it, clean it, put everything back on, and then start on the wiring because I want to get this thing mostly wired up in this episode. So let's go ahead and get this thing cleaned up, get all the stuff off of it, and then pressure wash it. Get to work, basically. I got a bit more done than I kind of expected to get done. So sit back, relax. I'm gonna talk about everything I did and why I did it. We'll start up in the front. I pressure washed everything under these seats, moved them around to the correct spot. Then I finally mounted it all in its permanent spot. I installed 4 speakers up here in the front, along with 2 in the back, and then 2 subwoofers on the bar. Sounds really good. It's perfect for what I'm going to use it for. I didn't want anything super fancy or technical. Just want something that sounds good and works good and not going to break the bank. This whole kit was perfect for that. Ran all the wires to it, wired it all up. It all is very clean underneath there. See, I have it all cleaned up and all the wires moved out of the way. That way it's not going to get snagged on anything that I put in here. Let me talk about this right here because I didn't really talk about it too much. All this is for my water tank. I have a water tank underneath the deck right in front of my gas tank. Pontoon Wholesalers has that option that you can install right in your center pontoon. It's an aluminum tank that sits in the pontoons. All I had to do is hook up some tubing, and I did that when I installed all the pontoons before I even put the decking on. But all the tubing is already ran for it. This is the inlet tube along with the breather tube. And on the other side over here, this tube right here is the outlet. And what I have right here is a Vevor water pressure pump that will, with the switch of a button, turn on, pump it all up. A little hose that came with it. Actually has better water pressure than my house, so works awesome. This is all fresh water. It's not pumping from the lake or anything. If you wanted to pump it from the lake, it would be pretty easy to hook that up. This thing is very awesome, easy to hook up. This is gonna be perfect for washing down the deck. If I spill anything or if it's getting too hot, I can cool it off. Perfect option. I have a switch right here. Good to go. Some other things I installed up here were LED lights up underneath the seats, along with a wireless phone charger. You just put your phone right here, or your wallet or anything else you want to store, and it will charge your phone. I bought this a long time ago because it was a really good deal, but I think I'm going to buy another one and put it over here. Maybe even put some on the bar too. Moving up to the bar, we got it all wired up. If you look in here, all the wires are neatly placed and tucked away. Everything is mounted up on the walls. I have a light right here, so I can turn it on if I need to get in here. This is also perfect for storage. People can put their bags or towels or everything in here. That way it won't get wet. And it's definitely out of the way. Also have some baskets on the sides for koozies and some hooks up here for whatever I need to hook up right there. Let me crawl in there and show you what it looks like. It's a tight squeeze, but I can make it work. We'll start over here. This is the switch for the batteries. On the right is the starter battery or the motor battery. And on the left is a lithium ion Vater battery that controls pretty much all the electronics. It has been on for a week and it hasn't drained any. I really don't have to worry about charging this thing ever. But anyways, I got all the wires ran to this switch, so I just turn it on and I can also lock it up in here so no one can steal my boat. Everything is ran over to these power blocks. This is the negative block and the power block, and also a fuse panel to control all my other electrical things. This Poco control unit controls all the lights in my pontoons. I can change all the colors in between them. Over here is for the subwoofer. I have all that wired up and hooked up. And this right here controls all the LED lights on top of my boat. Back there is a little bit more of a mess, but it's all pretty organized for the most part. It took a long time to wire all that up and make it look pretty, but I'm really glad I did, and it's going to be easier if I ever sell this boat. If someone needs to track down any kind of wiring, it's very easy to track down. Back here, I have all this wired up. We'll start over here. I have the horn all hooked up, the navigation and anchor lights hooked up and installed. All that works. Anchor light is ran through the bimini. Turns on with a switch. I have a bilge pump for both of those center tunes that have the water tank and the gas tank. If any water gets in there, it will pump it out. Docking lights are those LED lights up in the front. And this switch right here is just an extra light. Don't have it hooked up to anything yet. Depth gauge is all hooked up. Speedometer, everything else, fuel gauge is all hooked up. Now into these switches, I needed a couple extra ones for the LED lights and stuff. This one controls the bimini top up and down. Cockpit lights, this is the lights on the bimini, so it'll shine down on the bar. These ones control the LEDs all around the boat, up underneath. And this one controls the lights in the pontoons themselves. And this right here is my electric anchor, my Talon anchor. If you don't know what this is really cool. It's a shallow water anchor, so it just shoots out a rod into the sand and keeps your boat still. These are mostly used on fishing boats, but what I like about this for a pontoon is if it's a windy day, the back end likes to sway out a lot, so this is going to help just shoot a rod down. This will also save me from having 2 anchors, one for the front and one for the back. It's very easy. I'm excited to use this and try it out. I got a good deal for it. I've never used one before, so it's going to be a learning experience for me and you guys. We'll test it out whenever we get this thing out in the water, see how it works. And lastly, I got the motor all hooked up, wired up, the gas ran, and it starts. Let me show you. Starts right up, sounds amazing. It's very quiet too, and that's nice because the driver is like
right in front of it. So it's gonna be really nice to still talk to everyone and hear everyone while it's running. So all good. It is about 95% finished. There's one last thing I need to wire up. You see all these cup holders? Every single one has an LED light in it that I need to wire up. Just like these lights underneath here, you can change to any color you want. Unfortunately for these, it doesn't come with like a kit where it's already pre-wired up. You have to wire up all these individually. There are 14 of these lights, 10 right here, 2 right here, and 2 right here. I'll have to wire up plugs on each single one and run wires up underneath the boat and back down in and hook it up to a Bluetooth system. Just debating on what I want to do yet because I was planning on tying it into the rock lights I installed, but I cannot tie it into that system, so I have to create a whole new system for it. I'm making it sound a little bit more technical. I just want it to look pretty and all work together and still look right. So still trying to figure that out, and I will get it figured out next episode, likely. That was a lot to talk about and a lot going on, a lot of wiring. This took 4 or 5 days to get it all wired up. If you're just gonna go for a simple boat setup, Pontoon Stuff sells a whole kit that just runs your main wires. So the navigation lights and the docking lights all run to that switch and it's all plug and play. Very easy to hook up. All that could hook up in like 3 or 4 hours. I make it a lot harder on myself because I install all these LED lights and all these speakers everywhere. And that's what adds up all this time. And that's why it takes 4 or 5 days of wiring to wire all this up. But I think the outcome is worth it. And I'm gonna show you here once it gets dark out. Take a look at all the LED lights we have hooked up. See how they work. Okay, it's dark out now. Let me show you the lights. Don't know how much you can see on camera right now, but I'm about to flip the switch for the rock lights. Yeah, look at that. Super cool. So I have 8 lights around the bar back here, 3 on each side and 2 right underneath the captain's chair. Moving up to the front, I have 6 lights up underneath the seats up here. And I have 2 extra ones I might install on the back of these seats. These 2 spots are a little dark, so maybe just add a little bit more light right there. I have a remote in the back that I can switch to any color I want, so I can turn it all white. Any color I want, green, blue, red, orange. Yeah. Also has an app on my phone that I can use as a remote, and it also will sync up to music if I really wanted to. Yeah, these are really cool, and I love the high quality of them, and they're pretty easy to hook up. I'll drop the link in my description. You can check it out if you are interested in that. But now we need to turn on the lights in the pontoon so you can see how bright they are. And you can see how bright these things are. It's really crazy how bright it is. I'm not sure how it shows up on camera, but in person, it lights up this whole backyard. It's really cool. So I'm loaded up in the app right now. I did some figuring out on how to set everything up. And I can control everything from here. So I have each pontoon set up to its own system. So the left side is the port side, and I can change that to pretty much any color I want. Pull up this wheel. I can turn it all to green or blue. Really cool. Same thing with all the other ones. I can change each one to any color I want. And I also have some other settings right here, so I can turn it on to the American setting. Red, white, and blue. I can have the navigation setting, so the left side is red and the right side's green. So if I'm driving on the water, I can just turn that on and it should be okay. Might get in a little bit of legal trouble, but we'll figure that out when it comes to it. And I can also turn it on just the color cycle. So when I turn it on this, it will just cycle through all the colors in the color wheel. So it'll fade to blue, to white, to purple, to green, to yellow. It goes through the whole rainbow. It's really cool. I can also adjust the brightness if I wanted to. I can turn it down a little bit lower, turn it all the way up. This is very cool. So cool that I figured this out. And I also have some quick settings, so I can turn them all to blue really easily, all to red, and turn them all to white. So awesome. It's so cool. Once I have all the cup holders hooked up, it's gonna look really awesome up here, especially on top of the bar, because it needs some color up there, needs some light. Last thing to show you is the navigation lights and the docking lights. You can see how bright the docking lights are. Yeah, it's hard to stand even in front of it. You can see how bright it is against the truck. I absolutely love how this turned out. It looks so cool, and I can't wait to see it on the water. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Next episode, we're gonna be focused on having it on the water. Getting the rest of it finished, I have to bolt down all these seats in the back. Also, let me know if I should paint the pedestals black to match everything else. I think it looks okay, but I want to get your guys' opinion too. Also, like I said, I have a little bit more wiring to do, but that's all for next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have an Instagram and you would like to follow me there, I post behind the scenes of upcoming stuff or everything I'm working on that week. Check me out there if you want to. Also, my email down here if you need to get a hold of me for anything. That's the place to do it. We're almost done. It's so close to being out in the water. It will be next episode. Stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching.